Surviving a crash as bad as mine changes things drastically. It takes a while for it to sink in, and when it does, you want to talk about it. You have to talk about it. I want to tell you about my life and about some choices I made that changed it forever. After you hear what I have to say, hopefully what happened to me won't happen to you. I don't remember too much about my life. I've had memory problems ever since I crashed my car. Sometimes a memory will just pop up in my mind, but most of what I know about my past, I had to relearn by looking at photos and by hearing stories. So, for the early part of my life, I'm going to let my family tell you about it.
Brandon was fun-loving, rarely was afraid to try anything or do anything. For example, the first year when he was 4 that he went skiing, he was too fast, too daredevilish, was not afraid of anything.
Brandon was a good athlete as a very young kid, which was fun because we all sort of lived through some of his trials and tribulations, and there were a lot of great successes athletically. We always had the kind of a house where everybody sort of hung out. Brandon had good friends, and that was always fun.
He was a very fun-loving, energetic, the greatest brother in the world.
Growing up, I played all kinds of sports, but the one I really loved was rowing. Rowing was why I got up in the morning. It's such a rush gliding across the water, using every muscle in your body. On the rowing team, I was part of a powerful machine, and the friendships I made were some of the best I've ever had in my life.
Rowing creates a really strong bond. You know, we see a lot of each other. We start our days together. We enjoy each other's camaraderie, and it either makes or breaks a friendship. It demands a lot, and we train a lot, and we're in incredible shape for our age. Always striving to reach new heights and, new depths of self-abuse.
There's incredible discipline to being a rower. And for Brandon to do that gave his mother and I a very good feeling about that he could accomplish a lot of things in his life.
Brandon always had this flair, this personality about him. And he always had this sort of walk and a cheer about him. Always someone you always want to be around. Always good things seem to be going on around Brandon. Good laugh was always to be had.
Everything was fun in my junior year, and I had everything I could want as a teenager. I had a car, a job, and a girlfriend. My car gave me freedom, my job gave me money, and my girlfriend, she was really nice. The day of my crash was an ordinary Saturday. I started that day at 6 in the morning at rowing practice. Then I went to work. After work, I went to a barbecue, and then 3 friends, and I went to another party. At this party, all I had was just a couple of beers. I drank before, and it didn't seem like any big deal. I was an athlete, not some big boozer. But it had been a long day, and I didn't realize how tired I was. We left after midnight. I got my friends home safely, but I didn't make it home. My car was totaled. It took so many people to help save my life that my car crash was made into a story on Rescue 911.
17-year-old Brandon Silvera and a group of fellow athletes went to a party at a friend's house that would change their lives forever.
Everybody was having a really good time at the party. Nobody had a worry in the world. Everybody had a smile on their face and a drink in their hand. Brandon was definitely a party animal. We all were. waking up to Brandon's car touching a guardrail. It was quite a shock.
Brandon drove each of his friends home. Jay Peart, who lived less than 5 miles from Brandon, was last.
I asked him if he was going to be all right, and he said, yep. And I said goodnight, and he left, never questioning his ability to make it home that night.
Members of the Santa Clara County Central Fire District were the first to arrive at the scene, including firefighter EMT Joe Viramontes.
Hey, buddy, you all right?
The vehicle had hit the tree with such impact that he drove the steering wheel up into the dash area. It appeared as though we may have a fatality on our hands.
What happened here? As soon as we saw him, we knew that this was a very severe head trauma. In many ways, one couldn't tell if he was even barely alive, except that we could get his pulse and blood pressure.
Mr. and Mrs. Silvera, my name's Dr. Hinsdale. The injuries are serious.
The CAT scan showed very serious injuries all throughout his brain.
Intensive care.
We weren't optimistic that he'd lead a normal life after looking at the seriousness of the brain injuries that we saw.
He's not going to recognize you right ahead.
When I first saw Brandon at the hospital, in my mind, I still felt that some miracle was going to happen and I was going to have Brandon back.
We can all do it together. We're here for you.
Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Brandon, there's so many people praying.
Young people especially don't seem to understand that even the slightest amount of alcohol in their bloodstream can impair their driving ability. And it can be devastating not only to the person who's driving the car, but to their entire family as well.
We went to the hospital every day in hopes that Brandon would just wake up out of the coma and be himself again. And that didn't happen. I was feeling really guilty. Felt that I should have done something to stop him from driving that night, from going home.
I was in a coma for 2.5 months. I was not moving or responding to anything. My weight dropped from 168 pounds to 109. It was so bad I had to sleep on an air mattress because I had no muscle left to cushion my bones. I'm told that I'm lucky to be alive today. I did have my seatbelt on, and I'm sure that's part of the reason why I'm still here. After regaining consciousness, I was moved to a rehabilitation center. I couldn't do anything by myself. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't think, and I couldn't eat because I didn't remember how to swallow.
This is an initial admission video on Brandon Silveria. Brandon is a 17-year-old male who was involved in a motor vehicle accident. He sustained a right parietal skull fracture, left frontal
When I
hemorrhage.
walked into the rehab and I saw Brandon, he was sitting in a wheelchair, but he was strapped in because he could not sit up. I had to look twice. I thought it was another person. It looked like a new baby, that you needed the head support.
Touch the brush. Put your hand on the brush.
Reach it.
Reach way out.
That's it.
Keep going.
Excellent.
You're almost there.
Good. All right.
You did it. That was super. Touch the cup.
Reach for the cup, Brandon.
He had to relearn every single thing he knew how to do. He just didn't have to learn how to walk. He had to learn how to swallow again so that he could eat food. He had to learn how to think again because his memory was impaired.
That's it.
That's it. Reach out a little more. Point to it with your index finger. There you go.
Here, let me hold you by the
Pull
elbow.
everything closer. Okay.
I don't exactly remember the date, but it was late in the afternoon, and they were having a little party time. Tony and I walked over, and one of the therapists said to Brandon, "Well, Brandon, what do you say?" And Brandon said, "Hi, Mom." That's the first words we heard.
Brandon has a lot of courage. Most people, when they're finishing their teenage years, are looking forward to going to college or, you know, getting out on their own, and suddenly that was all taken away from him. And yet he is out there in the world. Given his deficits, he's out there participating. He's not hiding. He's involved.
While I was relearning how to walk and talk, all my friends finished their junior year, had summer vacation, and came back as seniors. I missed all that, and while they were applying to college and going to grad night, I was learning to do things as simple as how to catch a bus, do my own laundry, and use the telephone. 2 years after my accident, my friends had gone to college, and I was just coming home from rehab to live with my parents.
Being a good athlete, being somebody that could do things very easy early in your life, and then trying to go back and learn a lot of those things again has become very, very difficult for him.
Come on, couple more minutes.
I mean, a real struggle.
You can do it.
We know that constant routine is the only way that he can learn.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Good job. That's a great job. Good work. Good work.
Anyway, right after his rehabilitation, when he came home, one of the first things he did was to get up on the roof and jump into the swimming pool. Thank God most of his body made it into the pool, but his arm didn't, and he almost broke his arm. You know, I mean, I did it before, why can't I do it now? To him, I'm the same person, but you can't, you know? We got to start all over again and learn all that process.
A quick review of the stuff that we featured on today's show. We've got some cool stuff for your car.
He can be taken advantage of very easily. And I think that's happened historically.
Brandon is so trusting. When he hears an ad on the television that this is a last chance sale, and if you don't call this number right now, he'll order something that we've had to return.
764, they really are incredible. They make a fantastic.
A lot of the things that appeal to Brandon on television are the ones that say, if you want to be successful, read this book, buy this tape.
And then you get one a month for years after that.
Brandon is carrying a lot of baggage with him that he doesn't even realize, that creates all sorts of different problems. And wherever he goes, that environment needs to be sort of conducive to who he is and what he's going to present.
Where are you going? Where is your destination?
The health club in Las Gatas.
When he makes a left turn, you will want to get off at that stop there and then walk. No, you...
And if it's a hostile environment that doesn't have the time to recognize who he really is, it could be very, very difficult. And I really cringe when I think about that.
Walk straight over and you're at the health club.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. It's right there next to the high school. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to sound like you're mentally retarded, but you're not? People look at you like you're weird. For me, this has been one of the most difficult things, especially around people I don't know. It hurts so much to once have been normal, but now have people treat me like I'm strange.
It's just hard to see people look at him differently. They look at him as if he's weird or he's strange, and they just don't realize everything that he has gone through to be what he is today. And it's just frustrating. I want to go up and shake them and say, if you only knew what a great, wonderful person this guy is. Maybe he talks a little funny, maybe he walks a little off balance. But if you only realized what he went through to get to that point, you wouldn't look at him that way.
Dealing with other people's reactions is not my only battle. Physically, my struggles aren't over. A few months ago, I had a seizure and blacked out. It caused me to lose my memory and I had to start learning all over again.
Okay, stop and turn around. All right, Brandon, I want you to walk towards me, just 1 foot in front of the other. If you have to hang on to the wall, that's fine. Okay, keep coming. You're doing fine.
It really made me realize that he is still fragile. Even though he's come so far, in 1 second with a seizure, he was brought back to that same state that he was when he was unconscious.
Stand on your left foot.
All the wounds opened up again, and the hurt and the pain and the anxiety of thinking, have we come this far, and where are we going to end up now?
How many fingers you see?
1.
How many?
1.
How many?
1.
And who is the President of the United States?
George Clinton. No.
You want to try again?
No. Bill.
Bill Clinton.
Excuse me?
What is his
Bill.
wife's name?
Nancy? No.
By Hillary.
Hmm.
Hillary Rodham Clinton. Do you miss not having good memory?
Yeah, very much so I do. The bummer of all this is that I created this mess for myself because of making some stupid choices. First, the choice to drink. Then, the choice of thinking I was cool enough to drive. I mean, after all, I was invincible. Nothing was gonna happen to me. I was in control. Wrong. What I didn't know is that alcohol affects teenagers a lot differently than it does adults. Unfortunately, I had to learn this the hard way. Nowadays, I try to stay active, but I don't really have any freedom. I'd like to move out of the house, but my parents say I'm not ready. I think I am, but it's hard to know.
You want to live in New York for the summer?
I mean, I think that my experience through going to
Brandon's
New York...
dreams right this minute are to show his parents and the world that he can be independent. You know, let's think about the living situation now. I mean, first of all, it's a long way.
And being the city that it is known to be, such a big city, I don't know if I could live there, so I guess I'm putting my own...
I am always aware and always curiously watching out for my safety.
In a real fast-moving society like New York, maybe you're going to be confronted a little bit more about being physically challenged? I mean, have you thought about that, or is that it?
I don't really think about that, because if people are going to accept me, they're going to accept me. I mean, I can't change how things are. How you guys doing today? Good, how you doing? Very well, thanks. You know how to get here. Oh, yeah. Is that all right? Enjoy the game.
How's it going?
Always good. Yourself?
Brandon now works for the San Jose Arena, and the arena represents the real world. There are people that he has to deal with, be it you can't smoke here or you can't sit here. Imagine Brandon coming over a little bit off balance, speaking in a tone that maybe somebody thinks is mentally retarded or whatever, and Brandon giving that person some direction that maybe they don't want. A situation the other night, he came out, apparently had forgotten something in his locker and wanted to get back into the arena through the front door and was not in his uniform, and came up to the front door And the person there didn't recognize him, and in fact thought he had been drinking. It was real difficult, very embarrassing for him. I mean, these are kinds of things that he's going to face for the rest of his life.
I'm still learning to cope. All this pain and suffering as a result of making a stupid choice. A choice that I'd given no real thought to. A choice that was dictated by peer pressure. After all, what's the big deal about having a couple of drinks? Everyone else was doing it. And why not drive home? After all, my friends needed a ride. That's the way I thought then. And I'm discovering that there are still teenagers thinking that way.
I mean, I'm not an alcoholic or anything, you know. I'll drink, you know, on a very wide occasion. I'll drink maybe a wine cooler, something with like 4% alcohol, which I think is probably, you know, close to appropriate.
I drank 2 glasses of vodka, and I thought that I was fine. You know, I could handle myself in front of my friend's parents well enough. I drove well enough.
So everybody wanted to do something to liven up the party. So all of us, we like just got together, started toasting.
He started swerving, and next thing I knew, we were like the wrong side of the street, and no one realized. Our designated driver, didn't exactly follow through with their promise.
I mean, I've drinking a little bit and like a few beers and all that, and I'm fine.
There was no one else to drive me. It was late, so I literally had to just drive.
We're traveling around the country. We're going to high schools. We're going to middle schools. We'll speak to anybody that wants to listen to us.
They have spoken to over 75,000 students in the past year. We would like to thank the Century Council for this presentation. And please help me in welcoming Brandon and Tony Silvera.
I'd like to thank you today for the opportunity to speak to you and hope that you will all listen very carefully and what I have to say.
A great deal of our life now is committed to trying to make our story something that other people can learn by.
Impact on your lives. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to sound like you're mentally retarded when you're not? For me, this has been one of the most difficult things, especially around people I don't know.
This is a real healing process for us. It gives us a reason for why it happened. You want to know that you have a purpose in life, particularly when the goals in your life have been changed and changed drastically.
I get visions of what could have happened, and I imagine myself that was me, and it scared me, because that could have happened to me so easily.
And we had the opportunity to hear something from his dad, and that really moved me. And for a moment, I pictured my parents in their place, and that was like, whoa, that really affected me.
Thank you for coming out. I admire you so much, all your courage and everything. I wish you the best of luck.
I want to say, wow, that really meant a lot to me. I'm thinking about a lot of stuff.
I want you to know that I care what happens to each of you, and I hope that you don't have to go through what I've gone through. Many of you have already chosen not to drink. That's fine, but I also know a good number of you probably will drink. So make sure that you clearly understand one thing. There are consequences to the choices you make. Realize that peer pressure will make you do things you would not normally do, and that you are the one who will pay for these choices for the rest of your life.
The 3 of us were passengers in that car 20 minutes before he crashed. It could just as easily been us. You know, we always thought that, why didn't we stop him? Or, you know, he shouldn't have been driving. Those thoughts don't necessarily cross your mind. You have to really be paying attention.
That's so.
We always expected that he would come back. And he never did come back in the Brandon that we knew.
I never auto shop. That's what you think.
It's not to say that he hasn't made the most out of his life. And he's taught us all to make the most out of whatever we have.
I was picked because I was the best rower on the team.
I didn't mean it that way.
Brad, or at least that's
Well, Brandon embodies a lot of that good rowing mentality, and that's why he's been as successful as he has. And, you know, and because I've rowed for a long time, I look to Brandon for inspiration. If I'm wavering, I just think of Brandon, and he inspires me to just get up and face the world with strength and a smile and determination.
My friends that I went to the party with are doing really well. Jay's coaching his own rowing team. Bill went to England and rowed on a team that won the Henley, which is the most important rowing prize in the world. And Brett graduated from college first in his major. And me, well, here I am. My hopes are a lot different from what they were when I was in high school. And my biggest hope is that what happened to me and my family doesn't happen to you and your family. Now, it's all up to you.